So we have time for some questions, but I need y'all to count. Everybody count. Say 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We got time for 4 questions. So when people come up to the mic, we're gonna have a long day. We got a lot of opportunities to talk, so we have time for 4 questions. It would be great to have some of our younger folks to come on up to the mic. If you have a question for anyone on this panel about where we are, where we're headed, come on up to the mic. The first 4 people that come to the mic. And let me remind you of something. A question is a sentence that ends with a question mark. Not a like speech. Because a lot of times we come to these things and people give like 3-minute speeches and you kind of figure out what their question is. So I need you to think about your question, because that allows everybody, the 3 people behind you and the 2 behind them to ask a question. So tell us your name and ask your question, sister.
My name is Brenda Laurie. I'm with the Royal House Community Services.
You got to speak a little closer to the mic.
Brenda Laurie with the Royal House Community Services with Reverend Dr. Jasper Laurie. He's been helping us for 15 years. He got me out of prison, got me out of drugs, got me an education, and he's helped over 5,000 people. But he's a small church and a small nonprofit black-owned organization. I'm just trying to figure out how can all the churches get together and help the community more like he's doing. And he's not funded. He hasn't been funded. He can't get any funding. So what can we do to get him some funding to help 20,000 more people?
Thank you. There's a great question, and there's a panel this afternoon that's going to focus, I believe, on the faith community and how the faith community gets involved. But anybody on the panel have any suggestions on that? The question was, how can churches like the church that she's associated with get more resources to be able to do work in the community a little bit and more effectively? Any idea? Jay, and then we'll take that next question. Go ahead, Jay.
No, my question was, I'm sorry.
Oh.
How can the nonprofit part of the church?
Okay. So how can nonprofits find more resources to do the work that you're doing?
Gotcha. Nonprofit organizations.
All right.
I think Sister Elaine laid it out. We need to take this money. There's money all over the city, and we need to take it. But so we can talk more offline about how nonprofit in particular. But yeah.
Thank you.
The thing I'd add to it, and we'll ask Brother Seals, the other thing is we have resources in our community. I think that when we look at the studies that talk about where black folks put our money, we put money into charity. We need to fund more of our own things. In other words, we need to do advocacy, go down to the port and get the money, and I think that we need to make sure we finance the things that we think are important.
Yeah, and I want to say one other thing on that business, because I lived in Atlanta for 15 years before I came back here. And you know, there's a couple of mega churches in Atlanta that you probably know, one more infamous than the other in terms of the preacher. And the first thing I know that you notice when you walk into Eddie Long's, whatever name of the church is, I've forgotten, the first thing you will see is a line of ATMs. A line of ATMs. That is to say, you can take your card in and pay your tithes. The second thing that'll happen if you want to join that church is that you will have to fill out a form showing your W-2 and how much money you make. So that you can tithe correctly. So I suggest that the black churches do need to regroup, because there was a time when we could all go to the church and have a little survival program like the Black Panther Party. You could always get a meal at the church. You didn't have to show your W-2 form to get no meal. So those kinds of resources need to be reworked among ourselves so that we're not taking money in the name of Jesus and not doing the work of Jesus, okay?
All right.
On that same question, understand something. Historically, it was the church and the black community that we started the first free breakfast for children program. In relationship to that church, we developed a framework with their board, etc., by which we would raise money and channel it through the church because it did have the nonprofit status. And then they could pull it back, and not only for the free breakfast program, but for the free health clinics, etc., and so on. In fact, it was the church that swung the jury in my second political trial that I won It was Father Boyle from a Catholic church that had put up a free breakfast for children program when Mayor Alioto was going over trying to tell Father Boyle not to allow the Black Panther parties, but the church did it anyway. And Reverend Earl Neal at St. Augustine's Church in Oakland, California, that testified in my trial. And they gave it to me. I didn't say it, but they said Jesus, they testified in the trial, said Jesus Christ with a few fish, loaves of bread and some fish fed 5,000 people. And Bobby Seale with a bunch of donations and stuff fed 50,000 right here.
All right.
So the jury found me not guilty.
All right. Now